Evening, everybody.
Good evening.
Lovely to see you all. Thank you for braving it on what is not the nicest of evenings, but it is what it is. We can just accept it and charge forward with dynamism and enthusiasm. Is everybody all right? Is everybody well?
Yes.
Good. Well, that's good. I'm glad. What have been going on?
We're all fab.
We're all fab. Okay, good. Well, the topic for this week is I thought I'd do something that was a little bit more positive. Last week, I just felt that it kind of began to. We talked a lot about things being not fab, and I suppose for me it just felt that it was. I didn't want to come across as if I was saying, life's a bit rubbish and, bad stuff happens, accept it, get on with it, stop mithering, it's just the way it is. Because whilst there is an element of truth to that, and we all, I'm sure we all can testify to that, the fact that, bad stuff, well, the things that we would label as being bad, unwanted things, surprises, that's a better word, surprises do happen. And if we can accept them, then, great. But I think it's important to also stress and enable people to be aware of the fact that there's also a lot of great stuff that happens. There's some really positive stuff. And even when those surprises do happen, depending upon how we respond to them, it can have a positive angle to it. We can get something positive from it. We can get some encouragement and some energy and some enthusiasm from that. So I thought that's what we'd talk about a bit this evening, and see where we end up. So we'll start with it. We'll start with an exercise, and then we'll talk a bit more about positivity. And maybe we'll do last week we did a sort of a guided meditation type thing as well. So maybe we'll do another one of those, because I quite enjoyed that.
Yeah, I enjoyed that.
Whether you enjoyed it as well, so maybe we'll do one of those a little later as well. So we'll begin with our usual exercise where we just engage our senses to place ourselves in time and space. So we begin by just looking around and seeing what we can see in this moment. Just being aware of colours and shapes, visual textures, patterns. And once you have engaged your awareness of vision, you may close your eyes and turn your attention to what you can feel. So begin at the top and start with your head, aware of your head, the weight of your head, resting on your neck, which in turn is connected to your shoulders. Be aware of any tension you may be holding in the shoulders and in the neck. And by becoming aware of it, allowing it to release. And become aware of the arms, gravity pulling down through the shoulders, down through the arms, and aware of the arm and the hand all the way down to the fingertips. Next, become aware of your chest. Moving through to your back and into your spine, aware of gravity pulling down through the spine. Aware of your stomach and your gut. down further down to your bottom, or wherever your bottom, in contact with the seat. Wherever your hips, and into your legs. Wherever the thighs, down to the knees, and then moving down through your calf to your ankle, or ankles if you have more than one, and to your feet, and wherever your feet, and your feet being in contact with the floor. Become aware of the feel of your clothes against your skin. And the movement of air. Very faint, but you can feel it on your hands, you can feel it on your face. Then you may take a breath through the nose and just become aware of smell. And then taste. Finally shift your awareness to sound. And for the next few moments I just invite you to listen. And if your mind wanders, just bring that attention and that awareness back to sound. And it doesn't matter how many times you have to do that. It may only happen once, it may happen 20 or 30 times. Just keep bringing it back to listening. Just allowing sound to happen. We're not preempting it, not predicting it, not being distracted by it, just being with it, being aware of it. And when you're ready, you may open your eyes. Okay. When we practice our mindful exercises, and that, when we were just doing that one there, a lot of the language that we use revolves around being aware, being this, being that, not doing. As you know, I don't believe that we're human doings, we're not human thinkings, we're human beings. So it's about being aware and being alive. One of the central principles to mindfulness is being aware of being alive in this moment. And as the topic for this week is positivity, we'll start with that as being, a fundamental truth and a fundamental positive aspect. Being alive doesn't really get, we'll peak early, shall we? It doesn't really get much better or more positive than being alive. Having life is amazing. Being able to experience being alive in the present moment is the ultimate present. It's the ultimate gift. It's the most fantastic and amazing thing. They talk about whether there is life beyond this planet. And there's lots of people that believe different things. But there are probably some people that think we are alone in the universe. That life on this planet is pretty much potentially all there is. And so life is precious, life is amazing, and the fact that we have life is awesome. So we should be grateful of that, we should be thankful of that, we should feel positive about that. And as we talked about last week, when we were talking about things being not fab, when situations are tough, when situations are happening that maybe we're not too impressed by. Ultimately, regardless of the situation we find ourselves in, we still have the capacity to be aware of being alive. And if we can be aware of being alive, then there's something positive, there's something fantastic and amazing there. And not wanting to go down too steeply, even if we're very, very poorly, very, very poorly, if we are still aware of being, even when we're very, very poorly, we still have life, even though we may be suffering. And I don't wish that on anybody, and I know it's unpleasant and terrible, but fundamentally, even in that suffering, there is still the opportunity to be aware of being alive and having life, which is precious and fantastic and something positive that you can hold on to. Okay. So that's the first fundamental positive truth that we have. And that comes from mindfulness. Practicing mindfulness, connecting our awareness with this awareness of being alive is an incredibly positive and empowering way to be. I won't say it's a thing to do or an experience, it's a way to be. But we can also lead on to other aspects of mindfulness. And not wanting to keep harping on about last week, but we did talk a lot about when the going gets tough and all that kind of thing. Situations that we may find ourselves in when it's very easy to become despondent, frustrated, or depressed, or whatever. And I said, okay, well, if you can accept them, that can be incredibly empowering, and if you have that ability to accept that this is the situation as it is now, then that can be a platform. But it can be more than that. It can be more than that. Because it does also allow us an opportunity. I think about episodes from my own life or situations that I find myself in. For example, being stuck in traffic. If you have to be somewhere and you know you have to be at this place by a particular time, and yet the gods of traffic seem to be colluding against you, it can be incredibly frustrating, can it not? I'm sure you will agree. Many of you will have been in that situation where you're sat in the car thinking, "Get out of the way, just go on. I'm supposed to be there 5 minutes ago."
My friend at work had a classic. She was supposed to be at Buckingham Palace to get her MBE.
Oh dear.
Got stuck in traffic.
As you would.
Got through the gates with 4 minutes to spare.
Oh.
And I thought that was a bit close.
That's tight. That's tight. You know, if you, I've not been in that situation.
Sitting in traffic, yeah, you can imagine, can't you?
That would cause frustration.
I had to knock on the door of a plane one day to get on it, they'd already closed the door.
Yeah. She was in a bad enough state as it was.
Oh dear. But when you're in that situation, and I suppose I'm fortunate in that I've been able to practice this myself. But if you are actually able to accept it, and accept the fact that you can't do anything about it, as much as you may bellow and shout at the traffic in front of you, it ain't going to clear. It's not suddenly going to remove all of the cars out of the way. You're not suddenly going to get a police escort that will allow you to, you know, go tearing down the hard shoulder to get where you want to be. If you are able to have that mindful moment and just accept it, well, it's out of my control, it's out of my hands, there is nothing that I can do. Yes, maybe I should have left 5 or 10 minutes earlier, but I didn't. I can't go back in time and leave earlier. That moment has gone. It's this moment. This is where I am. This is the situation I find myself in. I can do nothing about it. I accept it. If you can do that, it's incredibly empowering. I've done it myself, and you suddenly just feel all of that frustration. It just evaporates. And
you ask yourself the question: how important is it to be?
Exactly. You then think, well, you know, I'll get there when I get there, and if I'm late, I will deal with it. I will deal with the ramifications and the consequences at that moment. When I finally arrive, I'll deal with it then. And chances are it'll all be fine anyway. You'll still get your MBE.
And if you don't wind yourself up, you'll be able to deal with it better.
Exactly right. That's it. Exactly right. You will. Yes. You won't. It's the people that arrive all massively flustered and apologetic and angry that make it into such a poisonous situation, for want of a better expression. But when you do arrive serene and calm and accepting, and say, well, you know, traffic, what can you do? And then yes, you are better able
and most people will accept that anyway, won't they? If they know you're interested, you know.
And then ultimately you end up with a much more positive state of mind for yourself, but also the situation that you then find yourself in becomes a lot more positive.
Also, I think when you've given over to the fact that there's nothing you can do about it, it sort of gives you, rather than that energy going into that worry and that, then we channel that energy into thinking of solutions. And
exactly.
I remember one trip to Dover one day, traffic was backed up all the way. I was like, there's nothing I do about it, what it is. And I thought, well, I can just turn left here. And I found a way, a real tricky way that I managed to find. I got to work for it. I didn't only put myself out about 4 minutes, but it was, just the fact that I just let it go. And I was
that's it. Surrender yourself. Yeah. Surrender yourself to that moment and accept it, and then you channel that energy elsewhere. It's almost as if I'd given you that as a prompt, Nick, that leads me on to the next thing that I was going to mention. Because when I started thinking about that traffic analogy, and I was reminded of something that you said, Annie, and it was months and months and months ago. And you said you were driving along somewhere, and suddenly there was a diversion. And prior to coming to the group, or prior to being more mindful, that had the potential to throw you into a whole world of anxiety and frustration. And yet you were able to go, okay, this is how it is. They're sending me that way. Let's see where we end up. Let's see where we go. And so you're kind of on the back of what you just said, Nick, about that it almost presenting an opportunity, and you channel that energy, and it allows you to become more creative. And then there's that bit of a challenge there, almost a challenge to yourself to be able to respond appropriately to the situation you're in, and also a challenge to solve a problem, to come up with a solution, to get yourself to work on time. And I don't know about you, but personally I quite relish a challenge now and again. I think it's good, it's positive to challenge yourself. I think practicing mindfulness is a challenge. As we've said many, many times, it's a simple thing to do, but it's not easy. It really isn't easy. It's actually quite a challenge to bring your awareness back to this moment, especially when our stupid primal brains are constantly wanting to refer back to whatever happened last week, or get frustrated about the numpty that's listening to the radio in the car in front and he's tooting along at 2 miles an hour. But avoiding those kind of judgments and labelling of situations is a challenge. But challenges are good. Challenges are positive. It's through challenging ourselves that we grow. And this is something that I've talked about before, but if you think about all the events, not wanting to make you go back in time and think about events from your life, but I will. If you think about occasions throughout your life that have been the most rewarding, they've been a challenge. It's something that it's either a problem that you had to solve, or there was a particularly difficult situation, or whatever it may be. And when you think back on those times when you really learned something about yourself, when you really grew as an individual, if you think about those experiences that you had that can actually give you some positivity in here, they all came with a challenge. It was because you overcame some particular challenge, or helped somebody else to overcome a challenge. Often it's not just isolated to you, it can be a shared experience. And it's that you then look back on, and that you have a fond memory of. It might have been incredibly difficult at the time, and you found it difficult and hard, but now in this moment it's something that gives you some positivity, that gives you some strength. A lot of the strength that I have as a person comes from my past experience, as much as it comes from rooting myself in this present moment, and being able to gain a lot of strength from the present moment, knowing that this is it, and in this moment I'm alive, and it doesn't get any stronger or better than that. Also, knowing that the resilience that I've developed from previous experiences and the challenges that I've faced and overcome in the past gives me strength, gives me that resilience. And so we shouldn't be afraid of challenge. And so being open and aware to those opportunities to actually embrace a slightly difficult situation, embrace a challenge now and again, can be, and it can make what on the surface may seem to be a bad situation into something very positive. I don't know whether you still look back on that car journey and you think, oh, you know, I was all right. But you know, you should. But it kind of almost it primes you for those future moments when it will arrive again. Because it's about learning from our responses, knowing that we could respond in a particular, that we have responded in a particular way, enables us to respond in a better way in the future. But it always come at it from a mindful perspective, rooted in the present moment. Okay.
I think a big one, Jim, for...
Give me the big one, Jez. What's the big one? Sleep.
Yeah, giving yourself half time about not going to sleep.
Oh yeah, it can do.
That's a big one. I think a lot of people do that. And that's about acceptance. I think I've learned that. I hope I've learned it. Because what I've learned is if you go to bed, you can't sleep. And you sort of, if you wear a watch or look at the clock, you think, crikey, is that the time? I'm going to be really tired tomorrow.
Yeah, and you're projecting in the future.
You project, and then you get a reaction from your body will tense up, and then your mind will say, what's your body doing?
Yeah.
And then your body will say, what's your mind doing?
Yeah.
That's how it works. And I did it last night. I was actually stuck in traffic. I was in Canterbury and the A2 exits were closed.
Yeah.
Both of them. And there was a diversion.
That's nice of them.
It wasn't very clever. And I thought I did fight it. I did fight it. But with the sleep, if I accept that I'm going to be tired, the worst thing is I'm going to be tired tomorrow. Yeah. And I can cope with that. Yeah. I don't like it, but I can cope with it. And just accept it whether it's 3 o'clock in the morning or 4. It's just tiredness.
It's funny because my daughter's 11, and she's getting herself into a bad habit in terms of going to sleep. She doesn't like to go to sleep, and it's funny because it reminds I was the same. I was exactly the same when I was that age, and I thought I just had this idea that sleep was just this waste of time. You know, it's this period of complete inactivity. It's like, oh, what's the point in sleep? Rubbish, I don't do anything. and she's the same at the moment, and sort of fights it. And you know, at the age I'm at now, I like to sleep. As I creep towards middle age, I like a bit of a doze. I like sleep. But you appreciate the importance of a good night's sleep. You know how the effects of, I suppose it's from having my daughter as a baby and marching up and down the landing when she's teething at 2 o'clock in the morning, showing her the foxes out the window. I think, I'd just give anything to be asleep. So she's getting herself into that habit now. And as much as I attempt to put that mindful acceptance type slant on it, I fail miserably because she's an 11-year-old girl. She's completely immune. I'm just dad talking this stupid hippie nonsense. But it always comes back to this. She'll lay there and she'll say, I can't get to sleep. I just can't do it. It's no use. It's pointless. I can't do it. And I say, it always comes back to the same point. And I always say to her, okay, how many years have you been alive? And she's 11. I said, oh, okay. So 11 years, 365 days in a year, that's, 3,900 odd days. How many of those days, nights, have you not gone to sleep? How many times have you been awake all night long? And she'll say, well, never. So there you go. You can't, don't say you can't, because you have done it every single night for the best part of 4,000 days. You are perfectly capable. You are perfectly capable because you've had lots of practice, 4,000 days with it.
The harder you try, and the more you want it,
That's it.
less it happens.
That's it. It is. It is. So, and that's why you have to almost be accepting.
Yeah.
Be accepting of it. Surrender yourself to it. Get up and
Count sheep.
well, do what I do. Go downstairs, make a cup of tea, and just sit and breathe for 10 minutes. And then, yeah.
Bedtime procrastination, isn't it?
Yeah.
Put it off the actual walk up the stairs.
But it's our brains that do it. They get in the way, and they start telling us things that they think are useful, and they're not at all. They're not at all. Right. Okay. What we'll do is we'll start off by becoming aware of the breath, because as we began when we were talking about positivity and the fact that being alive and being aware of being alive is the great, just fantastic. It comes from the breath. You know, as much as it's about aware of being alive, having life, being aware that you're breathing is fundamental to that. It sits right at the heart of that awareness of having a life. So we can get an incredible amount of positive energy, not wanting to sound like some new age idiot, but you can get an incredible amount of positive energy just from the breath and being aware of the breath. This incredible resource that we have, which is always present, completely free, always there, always happening in the moment. So begin by bringing your awareness to your breath. Aware of breathing in, breathing out, and then the pause. And just follow that, like the sides of a triangle. In, out, pause. Up, down, across. In, out, pause. Just follow that movement for the next few moments. Up, down.